All right. Hey, everybody. We are
Hello.
back again. We're going to talk about listing efficiencies and just efficiencies overall in your
Yes.
business. Um, because everybody hears, like just list and list more and more and more.
Mhm.
And that's great and that'll work. But there's this little thing called time. And who has time to do
Darn
that?
it, how fast it goes by, right?
Right? Like, okay, I'd love to just list 100 items a day. Okay, great. I'm not going to sleep ever again.
Mhm.
So that doesn't really work. So we have to
Yeah.
figure out how to do more, but in the same amount of time that we were spending before. So
Yeah.
that's what this is all about. The things that we have found that have saved us time to allow us to hit those listing goals every day and still have a life, hopefully, still be able to go and do
That mine.
things. Yeah,
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I know you go to the movies with your son and you guys go to CrossFit and do all sorts of
Yeah.
things.
And we now introduced other platforms too. So if we
Yes.
weren't able to be efficient, we wouldn't be able to be doing Amazon, Poshmark, KDP, just growing your business in general. And like you said, listing 100 items, we wish it was that easy though. Listing 100 items, but it's the sourcing, the prepping, the driving, the actual listing, the photography,
Yeah.
the putting away your inventory. I mean, you and I've discussed the listing part for us is fun. That's when you can sit down, take off your shoes, relax, watch a movie in the background.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
easy part.
but
All the other
man,
stuff.
and that's what we see a lot on Instagram, and it's easy to fall down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I just need to list 50 items or X amount of items. But it's, and as I was trying to grow my store, remember you and I were having that conversation when I was like, man, I'm trying to grow my store, but it's all the other stuff
That
that
comes
is,
with it.
and the shipping. We even talk about the shipping as well. So you're
Mhm.
listing more, then you're shipping more. We pray that is a good problem, but it's still,
It's still
um,
an issue because you still
yeah,
have to have
still an
time to
issue.
do it all.
And putting the inventory away, which that's one of my struggles. Cindy sends me a text in the morning. Did you put your inventory away? Because you get in your grooves and you want to keep listing, but then like I'm sitting here with the pile that I just listed that's right here. It is inventoried with the number, but now I got to go file it.
But that's
So
not actually put away. Yeah.
yeah,
So we want to go through the whole process because it is more than just listing. Because you can list really fast, but if everything else takes you forever, then you're still not going to be able to hit those goals.
yeah,
So when you start this process, we all head out sourcing. So you get in your little car and you head out there. And one of the best things that Monica ever told me was just go to one more store. One more store. Like, because I was trying to grow our store at the time and I was like, I can't find enough inventory. And she was
mhm,
like, okay, well, you're already there. You've already driven, this far. Go to one more store while you're out. Find one new store that you can go to, which doesn't sound like that big of a change, but it really is if then you can get an extra 20 items or because the distance that you've already had to drive, because a lot of us have to drive at least a little ways, even here, we
yeah,
have to drive some, not as far as Monica, but some to get there. So going to one more store was a really big deal.
yeah. And just the importance of your route. Um, when I was in Arizona, that's when I started reselling. I wasn't a reseller nor a thrifter when I was in California prior, when I had my corporate job. Yeah, I sold on eBay for fun, but never, it was just stuff I didn't use anymore. Stuff I had found at the flea market when I was, way, way younger, but I wasn't a thrifter. So when I was in Arizona, I didn't know how good I had it because I could do all
Mhm.
my sourcing on Dollar Day, which was Thursday. And then I would hit up Goodwill every other Saturday because they had half off day. And so I stuck to the dollar tags on Thursday. And so basically just looking through the racks, picking out the dollar, tag dollar items that weren't like completely horrible. Um, So I could get my sourcing done in like 2 stores in half a day.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I
And
remember those days.
yes. So then I moved to California, and the other, I guess, naive thing that I didn't think about was I didn't know all Goodwills weren't the same. So I went to my Goodwill, and again, I wasn't a thrifter, so I didn't know. I went into Goodwill and I said, "How come there's no dollar day? It's Thursday. Where are my dollar days?" And they looked at me like I was crazy. Of course, California, I should have, you know, known, but Arizona is the entire state is the same. So, but I say that to say this is then I was in a quandary, like, okay, this Goodwill is not good enough. I got scared. I got nervous. I was like, how am I going to be able to resell this way, the same way with the women's clothing that I had been doing it, when my Goodwills in my county are priced high, and I couldn't find the quantity, not even the quality, but the quantity. I was only finding like 10 items, where I was used to finding 100 in one store. So the importance of the route then is me having to go out further and further and further, testing different Goodwills, different Savers, different thrifts, different places, until I found a route that I knew if I went consistently that it was going to produce what I needed. So if you are out there and you don't have a route, it's really important that you get one. Drive if you have to. Not all of us do have that luxury of a thrift at every corner like I used to have. It's going to require going multiple times, because sometimes the ones that are my best, they weren't good the first 1 or 2 times I went. So you can't judge a thrift by 1 or 2 trips. And then you got to keep looking and looking and looking. Buy, sell, trade stores, different kinds of thrifts, bins, driving. But
Assignments,
But once you have your route down, that's like in reselling across the board, whether it's wholesale, liquidation, thrifting, it's your inventory. You got to have reliable inventory. And I know the bulk of us are thrifters. You got to have that route. So I encourage you to not give up and to keep trying.
And what we ended up having to do was having 4 or 5 different ones, because everything's in a different direction.
Yeah.
So, and then we could rotate them out. But you have to figure out where those stores are that are going to produce for you.
Yeah.
So then you go into that store though, and I know we all have that area of the thrift store that you go to first. Like that's your favorite. You go there. That's where you score the most. But you're already there.
Yeah.
So what areas of the thrift store are you walking past that you could be walking past $100 bills, and you're just like so focused, like, I'm going to the shoes, I'm going to the shoes, I'm going to the shoes. And so I always say find 5 items in every area of the thrift store that are high value, easy to ship. So I'm not saying, the huge base or whatever that now you're going to have to find all that other stuff for. But easy to ship, easy to spot. So I can scan as I'm walking by. Like the big Disney Bolt plush dog, he's like 3 foot long. Forever I would walk past that plush bin, and in our stores it's just like a ginormous bin. You would have to dive in order to go through them all. And I was always like, who buys used stuffed animals, really? But they do. And so now I know 5 high-end plush toys that I can easily spot. A 3-foot dog is going to stick out. So I don't have to dig through all of them. But as I'm walking by, if I see that, he's actually really easy to ship because he's not going to break. He just goes in some poly mailers and, off he goes. But he's at least $70 any day of the week. And that's an easy pickup. But I know that you've talked about not selling pants forever.
Yeah, I didn't sell jeans or pants, which, slacks, which is crazy because that's like that back in my corporate days when I was one of the ridiculous people that went to actual Nordstrom, and I I used to shop at these places, you know, Nordstrom and Saks. And I used to buy these expensive jeans and these expensive slacks. And so why it didn't dawn on me to sell them, I don't know. That was totally my bad. So I guess I know what happened, and that goes back to my abundance in Arizona, is that for me, I had my little half mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because her name was Cindy. I
Oh,
know.
that's hysterical.
Cindy. I'm not lying. It was literally just a $10. It was, you know, the half one, and it has a hanger.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
because I used that, it was so much easier to photograph tank tops, sweaters, blouses, and dresses. So, and because I wasn't lacking in quantity, I never needed to go to the pants and the slacks. But then that changed, like I said, when I moved here, because I wasn't flooded with inventory, easy inventory like I was there. So then I started going through the pants and finding, you know, some really nice jeans that I recognized from when I used to buy slacks and jeans. And then of course going through the that first wave of inexperience of like, oh, I know these jeans, I bought them, they were $200 back in the day, and then they didn't sell. You know, but it did open up another niche for me. So instead of just going through like 4 categories in the thrift, I was going through now an additional 3, because it was slacks, jeans, and shoes I also didn't sell.
Yeah, I didn't sell shoes for a long time either.
Yeah.
But as you grow, you have to learn those other things, because you're not going to have enough inventory otherwise. So that's why I had to learn Plush. I learned, you know, to look for that shower thing, the scrubbing bubble shower thing.
Yes.
You know, that people have probably seen now somewhere on Instagram. But I found those things that I could look for. That again, I hate to ship hard goods. I hate to ship glassware. Like if I got to pull out bubble wrap, that's just not a good day. So I wanted those items that I could scan for, that I could ship with the shipping supplies I already had at home. So I wasn't going to put myself in a bad position, but they're there. So, and one of the ways to find them is to go into eBay, you click on your solds, but you sort that by your zip code. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can go in that left search bar on your PC and click within. And so I would go, like when I wanted to learn the plush, the things that Monica finds are amazing. I don't find them here. So it doesn't matter to me what she can find in her area. I needed to know what I could find in my area.
And that's a really big tip that I learned from you. So for those just that to me needs a rewind again, is searching solds on eBay by zip code or within miles. You know, you could do like within 25 miles, 50. I think we should do a mini video on that.
Yeah,
it's really important. I had never thought of doing that until Cindy had mentioned it one time. So basically, I'll give you like my example. When I searched mine, because I'm in Santa Cruz, there's a beach here. We're not a little beach community. A lot of people are selling wetsuits, and they're in abundance here because, you know, we're right on the beach, but they're not in abundance almost everywhere. And so that was, I never thought, it should have dawned on me, but it just gives you more knowledge of what you have in your area, that you have an advantage over others.
Yeah. So when you can start building your own BOLO list then, based off of things that you're going to be able to find in your area. But so then you can, what I generally do is I just type in a word like black or red, just a very, very common term. And then I do solds and click used, and then do within whatever mileage you are willing to drive. So, but then I went ahead when I wanted to learn plush, I went to the plush category, sort that highest to lowest, found the top 5 that I was seeing consistently. Okay, those are items that are here. like the Chicago Bears Mike Ditka sweater, that's something that I find that Monica's probably not going to find.
Sad.
But
I love Mike.
right? Such a cool sweater too. But finding those kinds of things that you're walking past. What are you walking past that's available in your area that you can find that then you can sell? So it is leaning into your strengths. Your area has a strength. But it's not going to be the same as everybody else's.
And on that sports tip, you may also find things like, for example, again, I'm near the Bay Area. So my teams are like the Warriors, the Niners, the Raiders. So one of those teams is having a great season. You may find really good buys also doing retail arbitrage, like at Ross and Marshall's, where you see the jerseys, the shirts, the hoodies, the beanies, the shirts, where there's like fans all over United States, but because you're in that area, you will find more of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So leaning into your area and figuring out what is available to you and what you're passing on, because you may not be a sports fan at all.
Yeah.
And so you may not even know, okay, this, Jerry Rice jersey is really pricey.
Yeah.
And that's something that Monica might find in her area, but I'm probably not going to find. So finding those kinds of things that are going to be available to you in your area that you were previously just walking by saves you time, because you're already at the store. You already had to drive there. You already got a cart. You already, schlepped through the snow and the ice. If you're here in Chicago, whatever it is, you're already there. So utilize that time. And then I also like to talk about when to wave the white flag. So, you've been in that store and you're going through and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like somebody has been there before you. They didn't get donations that week, whatever the case may be, but there's nothing there. And we all have that moment. But there's a tendency to be like, but I'm here. I'm going to find something. I'm going to.
Yeah.
There's a time at which it is okay to just wave the white flag on that store and move on. Just say, okay, it's not here today. That's okay. Better to say it's not here today and go to another store and save that time than end up with cart filler.
Yeah. I call it drunk digging when I'm not having good luck. And so when you get to the thrift or the store, and so your expectations are high and your motivation's high, you're like, yay, I'm ready to dig in, and you're going, look through the racks. And then as you keep passing stuff and not picking up, like your expectations go lower and lower and lower and lower. And then soon you have a cart full of stuff you normally would have passed on, but because you're not finding anything, now I call it drunk digging. And I look at my cart and I'm like, I would not pick that up. Am I just digging a hole to fill it back up again? That's not what I'm trying to do. And I have to be, and even as a veteran, I see myself doing that every once in a while. And I will catch myself, Monica, just put it back, check out with your just few items, because all that's going to do is just waste time. You're going to photograph it, or it's going to end up in a death pile because now you have no motivation to list it because it probably wasn't the best buy. So it's in a death pile, and now you've wasted money, wasted time, wasted resources. And so it is
exactly. And we've all been there. We all have those items that you get home and you're just like, what was I thinking? Was I thinking? So so when you're at the store, you have to constantly be asking yourself, would I buy this if my cart was full? If my cart was full and I was finding great stuff, would I buy this? And if the answer is no, then don't buy it. It's okay to wave the white flag. It's okay to come home and not have a trunk full of stuff. It is better to come home with less items that will all sell than a trunk full of stuff that is going to waste your time.
Yeah.
So really thinking about your time in the thrift store. Where are you passing up items? Where are you buying items that really you should just pass on? Paying attention to your sourcing. So homework number 1 is to pay attention to your sourcing. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Go to one more store if you need to. Find your route.
Yes.
So then we have all these wonderful treasures and we bring them home. But Monica, you do something really cool at the thrift store so that when you bring them home, they're not wrinkled.
Yeah. So what I do, now I know you're a big fan of putting things in the dryer.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do use a steamer, but it is, it is obviously harder to steam or unwrinkle, however you do it. Unwrinkle an item. It's harder if it's all crumpled up because, you know, obviously it's going to have more creases. So what I do is after I'm checked out, because obviously I don't want to waste people's time behind me. I want to check out as fast as possible. So usually do have, you know, a good amount of stuff and I don't want to make the people behind me wait. So after I check out, I find a little corner and I take my cart and I first take all the items out and I will put them in kind of like piles. So maybe like all my tops, and I lay them flat and then I roll them and then put them in the bag. Something like jeans where, you know, they're thicker, denim, I will put them all, and you can roll them too, but I usually just fold them. But mostly everything else gets rolled. So then it's not like, because sometimes we're like frantic and then we just like shove everything in a bag. And trust me, I still do that sometimes. And I always pay for it when I get home and I take it out of the bag. Oh, and speaking of, when you get home, as tired as you are, take the stuff out of the bag because then it's going to be even more wrinkled. So there's no way to avoid 100% wrinkles, but it's much easier to prep an item that has one little fold versus, you know, 20 little wrinkles.
1,000. Yeah. Yeah. And I am anti-steamer.
Yeah.
100%. I call it the angry camel because mine is big and it spits hot water at you. It spits hot water like it hates you or something. Like that thing is mean. I don't know. So I always tell people just get rid of the stupid thing. Because for the vast majority of items, you don't need it to be perfect. If it's under $20, it does not need to be perfect. Now, if you have items that are like linen's always really bad for me for no matter what I do and I get home.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah,
it just looks like it's been crumpled in a ball. So what I do is I'll take 4 or 5 items, put them in my dryer with a damp rag on high heat for like 4 or 5 minutes. And just enough to create steam that kills all the heebie-jeebies. And
that's a great tip.
And then take them out and lay them flat, one on top of the other, while they're still all nice and steamy. And that then will get out 90% of the wrinkles. And then you don't have to use a steamer and you've done 5 at a time versus doing this, which takes forever.
For sure.
And I mean, if it's a $100 dress, absolutely pull out your angry camel and let him be mad. But if it's $20, it's just not worth the time. Like this session is all about time management and what is your time worth? Yeah. So if you're doing this and then that shirt sells for $15, what was your time worth?
Yeah.
You know, and I know that there are people out there, well, I get top dollar for my item. Yes, you might. You might get $17 for your item and I got 15. But in the time it took you to do this, I listed 2 other shirts.
Yeah. And the dryer is a big time saver. I mean, obviously not for like silk and wool, things like that, but obviously, but like heavy duty, you know, the button down cotton shirts. And it's not like you're leaving them in there for an hour where they're really going to shrink. No. It only takes a few minutes, like 5 minutes of high heat. And it's just, it is easier.
Yeah, it's just tumbling out those wrinkles.
Mhm.
So try to minimize the steamer time at least. You know, if you're, and I know like some people really find it's like almost therapeutic to just kind of
Yeah, and like I said, if for
relaxing.
me, it's easy when it just needs a refresher versus when if you crumple it up in a bag and then you leave your goodies
Oh,
overnight and then the next day you take them out. Now, I mean, it's gonna take you probably 5 to 10 times as long.
and we've all
I
been there. We've
just
all done it.
Yeah, no, I've done it where, because my sourcing day is long. And there's times where, like a sale day, for example, and there's so many people and somebody wants my cart and I feel bad and I don't want to inconvenience people. I want to, whatever. I get home and I'm really tired and I've left them. Now the next day I already know it's going to take me 10 times because I
Yeah.
didn't take them out. But
Yeah.
that's why I'm like a big believer in the rolling, because then I just hang everything and then it's just like zoom, 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 a
Yeah.
lot faster.
And actually, when we go to the Savers, we actually lay all of our items on top of each other that way, and then ask them to just fold each one over, and then we roll them for them and put them into the bag.
And that's a great tip, because
So,
then you probably put the price tags out so they're just like
yep,
zoom, 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 zoom. Yeah, I
yep.
gotta
So,
try that next time.
yeah, the checkout is faster, and then we'll take 4 or 5, roll them all into each other, dump them in a bag, dump them into a bag.
And we
And
always take off the hangers before we
yes,
get to the checkout.
always. Yeah, if you don't take off the hangers, come on, take off your hangers.
Yeah.
So try to get rid of that steamer. Try to prep those items as quickly as possible. But I know you do the same thing we do, and that is then we sort items out by similar items.
Yeah.
So that when you're going to photograph, you're not going from a pair of jeans to a pair of shoes to a sweater to a dress. I'm going to do all of the sweaters at the same time, then
Yeah.
all of the jeans at the same time, because your setup is going to be the same.
Yeah.
So it's just those little steps. You're never, when I met with my business consultant and he was saying, okay, we have to look at your time.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't have any extra time. He was like, yeah, you're not going to find an extra hour in your day. We're going to find 3 seconds. We're going to find 3 seconds in every single thing you do. And we're going to let that compound.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I can do that. And if you, I think the math is if you work an extra 13 minutes a day, every day for a year, that gives you a full 80 hours at the end of the year.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've heard,
So,
people rationalizing waking up like 20 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier per day times 30 days. It gives you like almost an extra day.
yeah.
I need to do that.
It's a lot of time. So it's just finding those itty bitty little things. But yeah, the steamer, I swear, get rid of it. Just break up with it because it's so mean. It's just mean.
So funny. Before I forget about efficiency at the thrift, one thing I'm a fan of is if we're really in our sourcing mode and we got our carts full, right? A lot of the thrifts aren't like these huge places. The aisles are kind of, smaller, and it's frustrating to like lug your cart down and then you're like going and then you push it and then you're going, then you push it and then someone has to come by and then you have to move it. Those little things add up as far as like little frustrations. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is I'm a fan of leaving my cart on the side of the aisle I'm at, right? So here's the long aisle going that way or whatever, long ways. And then I put my cart this way with the handle, where where you would sit the kid, a kid, the front part where I can see it.
Yes.
So obviously, but what I like to do is, obviously you're not going to leave your purse there or anything. I carry a little tiny backpack if you have a poncho, or not a poncho,
a fanny pack.
Fanny pack is what I meant. Whatever, like a little purse you have. So obviously if somebody gets my cart, they're not going to take my stuff, but I like to leave like a water bottle or something personal where it does look like it's someone's cart. because your cart can be accidentally looked at like, oh, those are the go backs because there's so many, and people will look through that, right? And then I'll have to say, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, like that's my cart. You know, I try to be nice. But that people looking in my cart happens so few since I've been leaving something there. Like I'll leave like a McDonald's bag or just anything to let the person know, oh, this looks like someone's cart. And then obviously I have my valuables. But then now you're able to go down the line.
Yes.
And then I have my headphones on and I'm just like, versus having to push, lug, be frustrated, you know, much less frustration to just leave your cart. And obviously within eye shot, you can see it, but I'm able to go down that aisle so much faster without having that big old cart. So much less frustration. I only semi-recently started doing that. Now I wish I would have done that, you know. And then, of course, as I grab stuff, I'm just putting it like, I'm just holding it because I take it off the hanger. And how many items do you really get per one aisle? You're not getting like so much. And if I make it halfway down and I have, you know, too many, that's great. I just go run to my cart and then go back. And it's great exercise.
Yes, but that's how we get our steps in.
Yeah.
Which is good because once we have all those items sorted and we are ready to photograph them, this is where, and you and I have done this for a long time, and I knew people always say that I'm crazy when I tell them this, but we literally count our steps. Like you're counting your steps. How many steps are you taking when you're photographing? And we want to get our steps in the thrift store, not while we're photographing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've always told people is this week when you are photographing, literally count your steps. How many steps do you take from picking up the item to putting it on your mannequin, to putting it down somewhere, to coming back, you know, all of those steps. And is there a way to do your setup so that you're not taking as many steps? Because remember, we're looking for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And that extra step, if you can move things just 1 step closer, that's 3 seconds on every single item that you photograph. So, you know, and we have a whole table setup thing that happens when we take our pictures. But we get it all set up and then it's just boom, boom. It's, you know, grab it here, drop it on, and then let it go. And then for us, because we have the half mannequin. So, you know, you have we have the half that doesn't have any legs. There is, and I can take a picture of it. I always forget. The pole that goes up it, you can go to your local hardware store. It's a plumbing fixture. It's a metal piece that you put on that pole. So now when your mannequin comes down, you don't screw her tight. She just sits on that. So she spins freely. So that top piece then spins freely, which is a whole lot faster than trying to turn her.
Yeah.
So and I know your setup's a little bit different because you have a full mannequin.
Yeah. So, but it's the same mentality about few steps. So as far as the spinning thing, what I have is you can either get a Lazy Susan. What I find that works best, because my mannequin is heavy, is a TV table, turning TV table. It's more sturdy than a Lazy Susan because Lazy Susans are meant to be for like spices or like, you know, lighter items, where like those rotating TV stands could be for like huge TVs. So they're much more sturdy. And I was just writing down that I will do a little video of my little routine. But basically I have a cart because I have to take her arm off every time I take a photo. And then, but when I first started using her, I was taking both arms off, but you know, to slip an item. But after doing it 100 times, I realized I only needed to take one of her arms off because I slipped the item, one armhole here, and then flip it over her head. But I have a little rolling cart and say I'm doing all my tops. And then I even break it down to if she needs a tank top or not. So an open cardigan, a jacket that doesn't close, just anything where she needs a tank top, a blazer. I will separate those items. So I will do those first.
Yeah.
Like she has a tank top on right now. So I'm going to photograph items that need jackets, blazers, cardigans, sweaters, anything that needs a tank top. Because I don't want to be taking off her tank top on one item and then putting it back and then taking it off and then putting it back.
Yep.
So everything is batched. Everything is like as fast, efficient as possible. So I'll do that. And then underneath, when she doesn't need a tank top, I'll put all the black, again, anything that doesn't need a tank top, but that's only a top, whether it's a sweater, a tank, a top, your regular top, a blouse, whatever, just anything top that doesn't need a tank top. Then I do the dresses from the knee length up, just from knee length.
Yep.
Because she has jeans, and if I don't want to be switching between a maxi dress and then a knee length dress, because when she has knee length dress, I put her jeans all the way down, and you can't see them because I'm only going from her knee up. But when she has maxi dresses, long dresses, I put her jeans up and then I scooch the bottoms up so you can't see them, because she's really heavy. So I can't take jeans on and off. But that little thing just saves me time. And then I have the cart right here. So when I am switching, the pile goes over here. I have my phone here, and it's like 1, 2, 3 steps and I'm done. Boom. 1, 2, 3 steps done. So I just wrote down, I'll do a little mini video of how did I do that.
Yeah. And then we time ourselves.
Yeah.
So literally time yourself. And I know that you and I both do this even still, like sporadically we'll just say, okay, going to time myself today. And then we try to beat that personal record, because necessity is the mother of all invention.
It is. It is.
That timer's going off, and because you're only in competition with yourself.
Right.
So, but when I'm trying to beat my time, all of a sudden your brain goes, I could do that, and that would be way faster. I could move this here, and that would be faster. You start thinking of all of those little things. So yes, we time ourselves in photographing.
Yeah.
So how long does it actually take you to photograph 20 items?
Yeah. And with that, I'm a fan of doing whatever I don't like to do first, if possible, at the beginning of the day. So for me, I don't like taking photos. That's like my least. For you, for someone else, it might be they don't like shipping. Maybe they don't like listing.
Yeah.
You know, we all have the things we like and don't like. And so I try to do it at the beginning of the day. And just a hack that I do is, I think we all either listen to podcasts we love or we watch shows we just love, right? They're just so interesting to us. So what I do is, if there's a podcast or show that I really like, I will only listen or watch it when I'm photographing. So that's like my reward, you know.
Right.
And I know how long it's going to be. If I'm listening to a podcast, I'll look and I'm like, okay, it's 42 minutes. So I know how many I want to do, and I listen to it, and I try to like hurry before I know it's going to end. Or if it's a show that's like an hour long, I know how many items I can photograph in an hour, and I try to put that pile. But it's these little things these little tweaks and adjustments that can make this kind of mundane, very, very repetitious job. It can ease it a little, because
Absolutely.
that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, is how mundane this is, and the repetition over and over and over.
Yes. Well, because I think that the tendency then is to become distracted.
Yeah.
And distractions are where you lose the most time.
Speaking of distraction, she keeps barking.
So I recorded my List With Me video today, and the reason why I do it the way I do it is because of distractions. Because especially once you've done it for a while, whether you're taking pictures or you're listing or whatever, it does become mundane. It becomes second nature. You're not even really thinking about it anymore. And so the tendency to become distracted is very, very real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get those pictures done. We've timed ourselves, and then we are ready to list. So you haven't recorded yours yet, but you're going to record a list with me so that that's a visual then. And I did mine this
I'll do that
morning.
right after.
And so then I'll get those posted. But for me, I have to find a way to quiet the squirrel. That's what I call it. I call it squirrel brain. Anybody who saw the Up movie, there's that little dog that's like talking and he goes, squirrel.
Yeah.
That's me. I squirrel. So if
I think we all do to some extent.
Yeah,
and that's why that timing thing is a big
so important,
because you're not going to scroll Instagram when you know you're trying to hurry up and photograph your 40 items in 40 minutes. And on that real quick, I used to have, and I broke it, but I had one of those, what are they called? With the things with the sand in them and you turn them upside down.
Oh, an hourglass.
An hourglass.
Yes,
I had one,
yes.
and I used to talk about that in my stories a lot, like a year ago. And I saw a few people had gotten one, but that's another great visual, especially if they're ones that are like 10 minutes or 20, not the ones that are like, you know, just a few minutes or way too long. You kind of need them in intervals. So you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this 3 times. That's 30 minutes or whatever. So that is a good reminder. I need a new hourglass.
So yes, so when I sit down to list, I have all of my items. Since we sorted them before we photographed, then when they're done for being photographed, they're still sorted and they're ready to go. And then I'm going to plow through those listings as quickly as possible. Again, timing myself. My goal is always to do a listing in 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, same.
So
I'm the same.
It's 3 minutes in and out. How fast can I do it? So you and I have talked a lot about don't ever enter the listing twice.
Yeah.
Like every time you open a listing, every time you see that little blue circle, that's just your life getting sucked down the tubes. Like that's how I think about it.
Visual, Cindy.
Like that's my life. Give it back. But that's time. That's time that you're just sitting there waiting for a screen to load, waiting for a photo to save, whatever it is. That's just time that you're not getting paid for then because you're not being productive. And for me, that is when I squirrel the most.
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting anyway. So I'm like, oh, well, let me just go see what Monica posted on Instagram today.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, guess my photo's uploaded. So really paying attention to how much time are you waiting on those photos to load, waiting for that screen to load, whatever it is. We are both fans of listing on our computers. It's faster for us. I know some people are just ridiculously fast on their phone. I always just say, try it a new way. So try listing on your PC. Try listing somewhere else because it's going to give you ideas. It's going to make you think, I could do this and that would be faster for me.
Yeah.
So one of the big questions I get is, when do you measure? Do you measure as you're going or?
Yeah, so I measure, I'm sitting at my desk that I list on, and I have a measuring tape. This is the end of it, but it's the measuring tape is taped on my desk.
Yeah.
So
mine's sitting
that
there.
when I'm listing, I have my, because I was listing earlier, so I have that, and then I have my hangers with the numbers on them. I literally just printed this out of my printer and then thick, moving tape. That's how I do my thing. So that's when I measure, because the reason is going back to we don't want to do anything twice. So if you are writing down your measurements, you're writing them down, right? That's once. Now you're listing them in the computer, that's twice. So if you remove the step of writing it down, now you just enter it. You see what I mean? The only time I write my measurements down is speaking of this job getting mundane, so repetitious, is sometimes I just want to go upstairs and list on my couch, laying down, and added my own little box to my office here. So I know it's going to cost me, 30 minutes or so, but just knowing that, I'm going to get all this inventory measured and put the number on, but then I can relax upstairs. That's the only time I do that.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. So I literally list here on my couch because then I can see my TV and the family's all here, and
Yeah.
I'm not, holed up somewhere by myself. But I've got my tape measure here, and I do the same thing. I'm measuring as I'm going, typing it in so that we're only doing something once.
Yeah.
So I don't use templates. I do sell similar. Part of that is for conversion rate, that we will talk about in the next video. But all about then not putting a lot of information, not having to type a lot of information. So we're still using Sell Similar. That then pulls anything that I need, like chest, sleeve, length, that then you're typing those numbers in. That's going to come from my older listing.
Yeah.
So I'm not having to write chest dash and every single time. So basically it's just title, photos, some measurements, and off we go. So it's pretty much keeping it as simple as possible. Now, are you cross-posting?
Not very much right now. I go through my phases, but I'm not really cross-posting. But when I do, I've been using Vendoo, and I do it only on older items. So I wouldn't like cross-post right away. Like, say I just listed this item, I'm going to give it time first. However, if you're just starting, I always think that when you're just starting and you have a small amount of inventory, in that case, I would cross-post like right away. Because say you only have 100 or less active items, then you want to get as many eyes on those few items that you do have.
Yeah. And it is easy to cross-post right away to just, you've already got your pictures there, you just copy and paste. But neither one of us are cross-posters right away. It's older items that we're trying then to move.
And I will make that video, the cross-posting video.
Yes, because I've never used Vendoo, so I'm anxious to see that. So then we get those listings done, and we'll put up the video so you guys can kind of watch us do that. And then we're ready, hopefully. So then we take all of our items, we store them away. Right, Monica? We store them away. We put them away when we're done.
I'm not looking at them down here. They're not down here.
Right? I just have one right here that I listed earlier.
Yeah. I just listed these though, so I get one chance.
You get one day, yes. So we've got them stored, and so now it's time to ship. But if you did not inventory your items, you don't have a good inventory system, huge waste of time, because you're going to spend time searching for an item. And how many times have you and I both sat on the floor amongst all of our inventory in complete frustration because you can't find whatever that wonderful item is? It's always on a Monday too. I feel like it's always on a Monday.
Everything happens. You run out of paper on a Monday. Your printer doesn't work only on Mondays or after 3-day weekends.
Oh, that's, for sure. So having a good inventory system that works. If you have had to look for an item at least once a week, every week for the past month, you need a better inventory system. It's time to do an inventory control moment there and see what's going on with your inventory. Because that's a big time suck, because you should be able to go grab those items really fast. So we use bins. We put all of our items unbagged, just straight into a bin. In every one of my titles, there's a letter and a number at the end of because I don't trust eBay's SKU system. Been around for too long. Crazy. And I've just always done it that way. So every listing has a letter and a number at the end. That's the bin number that it's in. I just go to that bin and pull that item out. But you do yours just a little bit differently because you have actual numbers.
So I showed you my hanger with the number on them. So anything that's hangerable, it goes on a hanger. I guess actually, except for bottoms, for jeans, any bottoms, I have bins. And I use a custom SKU in the listing, and
which makes more sense.
in my list with me video that I'll do right after this. So when you go to print, when you go to your waiting shipment, you can see it. But I mean, doing it on your title, you can see it too.
It makes more sense to save the title for actual title keywords.
But what is nice about the custom label SKU is that when it's time to do an inventory check, you can sort by SKU. And so like I have, like this one's a D. I don't know if you can see it. And this one's a C. So the other thing I do is I separate by category. So A is for long sleeves. B is for short sleeves. C is for tank or anything sleeveless. D is for dresses. So that, you know, obviously we're human. We're still, even with an inventory system, you're still going to accidentally put in the wrong number. Yeah. You know, it's late, you're tired, you know, we misspell stuff, we misinput stuff. So I've been, even with an organized inventory system, I will still lose stuff. Does it happen often? Of course not. Like, definitely not. Yeah. But in the instance that, say I misfiled a dress, or I typed in the wrong number, at least I don't have to go through looking all of my 2,000 items. I only have to look through the D section and then I'll find it. So that's why I did that.
Yeah, which makes sense. So yeah, we have bins, and if I'm listing, then I only list in that section of bins for that, you know, that day. So I can find, okay, this item was listed on the 24th. Here's another item that was listed on the 24th. I can figure out, okay, it's in that section.
Yeah,
so same thing. So that you can reduce the amount. It's all about saving time. So we're
frustration and not being frustrated. And I'll admit, if you don't have an inventory system, don't feel bad, because I always say to myself, like, or to others, that it took me way too long to get one. Like, I'll admit, when I got on Instagram, was this like 4 or 5 years ago, I just started my system and I had already been selling for years. And part of that was because I didn't have a lot of active, because I was doing 100% auctions, so things were turning over super fast. So how I did it back then was how Goodwill does theirs, which is like by, again, like tanks, and then I will put all the colors in one section, all the, again, short sleeve, long sleeve dresses. But I had like 500 items. I know it may sound like a lot, but it doesn't when it's on racks.
Yeah.
But then when I made the decision to grow my store and move away from auctions, I knew that I had to get my system in place. How I chose it, if you're at that pivot point, you're like, oh, I want to do one, but the thought of going backwards is too daunting.
It's too much.
It's too, I was like, no, I can't go back and inventory 500 items. So what I did, I just started that day.
Yep.
I started that day. I listed 20 items, let's say, and those got inventoried. And then as the old stuff sells off, that uninventoried pile will it will become smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
To the point that there was no more left. I think I might have gotten it down to like a few, and then I just inventoried them, you know, but
yeah,
that's what I did. I don't know.
That's exactly what I did too, because I just had boxes. I just had boxes and boxes. They were stacked on top of each other. Like if you had to get to the bottom one, you had to, you know, like play Jenga, and it was a nightmare. But I did the same thing. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to start today, and I'm just going to slowly change it over.
Yeah.
So now we have all of our inventory items. We're ready to ship them. Shipping should be pretty much the fastest part of your process. But I do always suggest that you get some sort of little basket or something for the bleep. I missed that, because it happens. You miss a stain, you miss, there's a thread, there's, you know, lint on it, it's got dog hair, whatever it is. So I've got an extra lint roller. I've got those little shout wipes. I don't know what is in those shout wipes, but they're magical. They'll take out just about anything.
Yep. Got all my stuff too. I was going to show, I got my moist wipes that I always talk about, my lint roller, my shaver, but sometimes it needs this one, sometimes it needs this one.
Yep.
So I have them all right here.
And keeping those items right there so that you don't have to go and look at them. Again, it's steps.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to go to the other room, but do that, twice a week for,
And a little
little sewing kit.
Um,
For the old poop.
Yeah, the button's a little loose and I didn't notice. Stuff like that, that's so easy. If I can learn how to do basic sewing, anyone can learn. Because no, I did not know. I'm that person that is not good at domestic duties. Like, I am not. I just watched a few YouTubes. Anything at the seams are easy to fix. Buttons.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have my little thing and I keep them all right here because sometimes you miss things and then you're folding it up to ship and you're like, oh my God, I didn't see that stain or that loose whatever thread.
Yeah. And so keeping that stuff there and then keeping track of your shipping supplies.
Yeah.
So having a system in place for when I pull the last batch of labels, then I need to go and order more. The moment the printer ink starts looking a little bit light, I need to go and get more because it will run out on a Monday. You will run out of labels on a Monday.
Or a Tuesday. Only after 3-day weekend though.
Yeah, after a 3-day weekend, it'll be a Tuesday. And I cannot tell you how many times I have had to run out for printer ink or had to tape labels on to 100 packages because the labels are coming tomorrow and I don't have any today. And
and that's one thing that I also took probably too long to do was to stop taping the labels to my packages. I did that for so long before I finally just got the paper. You don't speaking of, just wasting time where it's really just a few dollars more to get the paper,
the stickers, the peel and stick
on, or when you're ready to get either like a Dymo or a Rollo or a Zebra. That's what I have now. I have a Dymo. It does save time.
Yeah, and it's just about finding those extra seconds so that you can get those items out the door quickly.
Yeah.
So after you've watched this video, the homework then is to pay attention to your sourcing, get yourself a route, and then time yourself in every single section of this business. And then once you have that time, it doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes or 3 minutes. That's just your starting value.
Yeah.
So whatever your starting value
off time as you go. You're going to shave off time. But you have to get better. You have to know your starting point. And that it's like, it goes for everything, when you're working out and you're like, okay, I want to run this mile at this time. You got to know your starting point because you're going to shave off time. So I think part of the homework should be everyone should know exactly how long it takes you to photo 10 items. You should know that.
Yeah.
And you should know how long it takes you to list 10 items. Who cares if it takes you 2 hours for each one? It doesn't matter. We all start somewhere. I always tell the story of I remember the first day I ever listed 15 items. It took me all day. And I was so proud of myself. I didn't have Instagram knowing that people were doing 100. So to me, I thought 15 was I was the queen of eBay. I was just so proud of myself because I was slow. I was not a fast anything. So if I can get faster, anyone can get faster. But you need to know your starting point. So photo those 10 items, pick a time where it's uninterrupted, list the 10 items, and don't be embarrassed if it comes back like I took 2 hours. It doesn't matter because
it doesn't matter.
You're only competing against yourself. I know that's like a cliche, but it is really true.
Yeah. I forgot a big one. The research rabbit hole.
I had it down.
You knew. I totally. Yeah. The research rabbit hole is where most people lose so much time.
We were talking about that. I wrote it down.
Yeah, so much time. I don't research 90% of things.
And unless
I really think oh, this might be a special Free People. This might be, you know, one of the rare anthropology pieces. Most items.
Yeah. And I'm in the same boat as Cindy, that I don't research comps, but that's because, you know, we've been doing this for a long time. And but that doesn't mean for newbies, like we wouldn't say don't research anything. Of course not.
No.
But there's like a fine line between taking 20 minutes. You know, if you go on to, if I like to start at Google, that's my starting point. So when I'm listing an item that I'm unfamiliar with, I type in something very general on Google, and then I click on images, because that brings up prices right there instead of you having to go individually into Poshmark. Obviously, I know Cindy talks about Check-a-Flip too. That might be my next step, but that's just step one for me to just kind of get an idea, because it brings up so many marketplaces and you can see what prices are right now. So I'll type in the brand, like, okay, Line and Dot wool sweater. I'm just looking at something down here, and then kind of get the idea of the prices. But my friend Tech and Sports, he has a good line. He says, like, don't get crippled by comps. And if you're researching to the point where it's crippling you, then it's not worth it, because then you could have listed 5 more items. Now, again, this is for the majority of stuff we're listing, which is bread and butter. Of course, if you have a rare item, a Versace dress, a Gucci, or something you paid up for, and you're like, okay, this item, then by all means, like, take your time, because you want to make sure. But on the, you know, run-of-the-mill stuff that majority of us are getting, you don't want to be crippled by comps, like Tech says, because and you will get faster as you go.
And I always say, again, going back to not doing things twice, if you are in the thrift store and you look up an item and you decide to buy that item, take a screenshot of whatever it is that made you decide to buy it. That was your research. You don't need to come home then and do the research again. You already know what prices it was selling for, because you saw, that's why you bought it. You already know the keywords that are there. You've got all of the information right in front of you. Just take your screenshot, and then when you get home, you're going to have that screenshot to list from.
Yeah, so, and I'm on Check-a-Flip right now. I mean, that's like the biggest, another thing that I learned from Cindy, one of the many. It literally takes you less than a minute.
Yeah.
Men's, Allen Edmonds, Oxford, or if you may not even know the keyword yet, but shoes. Get an idea.
And then go with it.
Yeah. It's such a great tool.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a big time saver. You just see them all right there.
And then it's done. And then you know, I think people get really upset because, oh, well, you know, maybe this is the one. Yes, there might be a time when you undersell something. Doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, unless it's a Versace, we're talking about the regular stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about
regular
stuff.
I've got a regular J. Jill shirt. Maybe this is the one J. Jill shirt that Kim Kardashian wore and is now worth a ton of money. The amount of time that it would have taken me to figure that out, I listed 5 more items. So at the end of the day, the amount of money that went into my pocket is still more than if I had taken the time on all of those normal items to find out that price, that keyword, that whatever.
And if you're
the sleeve style, nobody's looking that up. You don't know it, nobody else
is back to, like, if you're so scared you're going to undersell something, if you want to ease your mind, I did this at the thrift a few months ago. I found an Anthropologie 11's kind of rare jacket. I don't typically pick up 11's. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. 11C's.
I don't know.
It just doesn't sell well for me. But I was going through and I'm like, God, this coat looks familiar. I think this might be one of those rare Anthro pieces. And I kind of passed it because, again, that brand, I just cannot sell it. And I even went to
Same.
the end of the aisle and it bugged me like, no, I think that might be the one. So I didn't even really know how to describe it. So this is a hack, if not a hack, but something you can do if you really want to make sure you don't have that rare piece. So then what I did was, just to check it real quick, I typed in on eBay, Anthropologie 11's coat. And then I went to sold and I went highest to low. And I found it right there. It was on the top because it was one of the highest. So that's how I knew.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and so if you're looking for that Lululemon style name or that Free People style name, if it's not in that first page of highest and you're down into the 20s, just list it. Just use the keywords that you know.
And I do have a hard time with Lululemon. I'm not a Lululemon expert. And I will take like a minute or two, but I give yourself a limit, like per listing of, I'm not going to spend more than, and this is at your max, not every single one, but when you're unsure of like 5 minutes. And that's good. If that's, again, where if you have like that hourglass, all right, I'm researching, or just look at your watch.
And when time's up, like you just have to be done. It's like the quiz at school. Teacher says pencils down, you're done, whatever it is.
Yeah. And just don't, I just want to reiterate not to get discouraged. Because you may need to look every single item up, but again, just real quick, when you're first starting, because you don't know. Same when you're at the thrift, you may need to research more before you check out. Don't get discouraged because you're gonna start shaving off time. And there's just no shortcut to experience. I wish there was, but there isn't. And that's the good and the bad. The good is that a lot of people will stop because they get discouraged. And because you have to pay that price of experience, and it only comes with time. But the good part of that is that you could be the one that keeps going. While everyone stops, you got to be the one to keep going.
Yes, absolutely. So I think now we got it all.
Yeah. I had it.
I had to go back to, because I totally missed that. But so in the next few days here, we want you timing yourself. We want you counting your steps, really paying attention to how long you're putting into an individual item. How long is it taking you to process that item from start to finish? And is it worth it? So really paying attention to that time quotient so that we can increase our listings without increasing our time.
That's right.
That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, I think we're good. So we will be back with more videos. The next video we do together will be conversion rates. Bye, Ari. Bye, everybody.